All right, Georgia's going on the road to Ole Miss today for a 3:30 kickoff. Looks like it's going to be a somewhat rainy game, at least in the first half. Ole Miss is coming off a big blowout win on the road at Arkansas. I thought Arkansas was going to win that game. Ole Miss pulls it out. Georgia's coming off a struggle win against Florida. Looked really ugly doing it. Another 3-interception game for Carson Beck. Georgia did pull away late in the game, but it was a lot closer than the final score indicated, and another really ugly win for Georgia. ETN went out with the injury in that game. The freshman Nate Frazier came in and played well. Clearly not as experienced as ETN though, and our other two running backs are also out. Receivers still dropping the ball, and Carson Beck is still throwing interceptions. So a little bit of a concern there for the Georgia offense, but there's nothing new there. The offense has been struggling the entire season for Georgia. Ole Miss, I think Georgia is going to rise to the challenge in this Ole Miss game. Georgia did beat Ole Miss at home handedly last year. I think it was something around 52-10 at home. Now, these are two totally different teams that played in Athens last season. Ole Miss has made a lot of improvements, especially along the defensive line. And Georgia did lose Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey and their best two running backs and sent quite a few guys to the NFL in the secondary. So I do think this game will be a lot closer. Georgia obviously lost a lot of talent, was not able to replace that talent at wide receiver or at tight end or at running back for that matter. We've taken steps back in every single one of those positions. On a positive note, the Georgia defensive line has been playing better this season. So that is a positive. One thing I will say about Ole Miss that I have noticed is that Ole Miss's leading wide receiver, Trey Harris, he was injured for a few games this season. And while he was injured, their offense looks totally different when he was out. He's got 59 receptions on the season for 987 yards. I believe he had 5 touchdowns last week against Arkansas, which is just unbelievable. Just a truly incredible player. They also got another wide receiver, Jordan Watkins, who's got 7 touchdowns on the season. Jackson Dart is back at quarterback. I feel like they've been playing good on the offensive line. So a really high-powered offense there. It's going to be a challenge for Georgia. And we're going to have to get home. We're going to have to sack the quarterback in this game and cause some turnovers. But I do have faith that the Georgia defense is up for the challenge and will step up and will play well in this game. I've got Georgia winning this game today. I do think it will be closer than last season. Georgia usually rises up in these moments, in these must-win games, and I do believe this is a must-win game for Georgia. You got Tennessee at home next week in a big game. You still got Georgia Tech in Atlanta at the end of the season. So Georgia's got to have this one. Ole Miss has got to have this one too. That's what makes it interesting. Ole Miss has already got 2 losses on the season. So if they lose this one, there's 0 chance they make the playoffs. I got Georgia winning 38-24. Hopefully our offense can get it going and Carson Beck can play better football this game. I do got to say this season has been the most frustrating season I have watched of Georgia football since probably 2014. 2015 was bad too, but 2014 was a frustrating offense to watch, and this offense is equally, if not more, frustrating. If we could just play to our potential and execute and catch the football when it hits our wide receivers in both hands, and we could stay ahead of down and distance, Georgia could be a very dangerous team that could go deep into the playoff and could win a championship because our defense has stepped up as of late. But the offense just looks totally incompetent at times, and Carson Beck has got 3 games this season with 3 interceptions, and that's unacceptable from a returning starter. He was better last season than he was this season, and that's just the God-honest truth. The tight end position for Georgia has totally disappeared. Oscar Delp is not even as good as he was last season. He's taken a step back, and he is nowhere near what Brock Bowers gave us last season. And at the wide receiver position, we've got a case of the drop still to this day. Arian Smith is our leading wide receiver, and we have to continue to throw him the ball because he's a big play threat, but he drops 1 out of every 3 passes that hit him in the hands, so that's a problem. Hopefully Etienne's back and fully healthy. I'm not even entirely sure why he left the game and did not return last week, but we got to have Etienne this week. And we need a productive run, especially if it is going to rain in the first half. We need Georgia to be able to run the ball. Uh, Ole Miss got 42 sacks on the season. That's a concern. They put a lot of money into that defensive line, and I think they're going to be much improved this year. So Georgia's got quite the test today, and hopefully they're up for the challenge. So I think Georgia will win the game. I think they'll go in there and play their best game. They typically stand up in these situations, in these must-win games. So we'll see what happens. I got the Dogs 38-24 over Ole Miss. Can't wait to watch it. See y'all.